The Eagles get a win. They're losers no more. They take down the Minnesota Vikings 28-22 in Week 7 in Minneapolis. How you doing?
Doing well. It was a win they really needed and some really impressive stuff along the way.
Yeah, we'll get into all of it. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast brought to you by Nissan. Reuben, Frank, and Dave Zangaro here with you. They needed a win in the worst way possible after losing to the Broncos, losing to the Giants. And this one, I don't think they did everything they wanted to coming into this game, but it didn't matter. They were able to do enough. They got stops on defense. Their passing game came alive. And this is a big win.
Yeah, you're right. And they didn't just lose to the Broncos and the Giants. I mean, they blew a 14-point fourth quarter lead to the Broncos at home and then just got manhandled by a bad Giants team up there at the Meadowlands last week. So, yeah, I thought it was a real crossroads for this team. It's not an easy place to go in. That's the Vikings are a good team with a very good defense, some elite weapons on offense. And yeah, I think they wanted to go in there and run it, and it didn't work out that way. They ended up having an incredible day with the passing game. Jalen was unbelievable. Maybe his best game ever. I may considering what was at stake. I guess he goes Super Bowl, but as far as the regular season, I don't think he's ever played better. And they needed every bit of it. And it was just good to see everybody kind of on the same page in the passing game. And like you said, the defense got some really big stops in the red zone, which was huge. And they played some complimentary football. And 5-2, considering everything this team's been through, is not a bad place to be.
Yeah, one more game before the bye week. They got a chance to face the Giants again next week, this time at home. So we'll see how that one goes. But they're setting themselves up here to be in a really good spot at the bye.
Yeah. And look, they haven't gotten swept by the Giants since 2007, I believe. It's been 18 years. So that becomes a really big game. And I think the Giants kind of are onto something with Jackson Dart a little bit. And that running back, the guy that does the backflips. But yeah, certainly it's a game the Eagles should win in their own building. And if they can get to 6-2, certainly with that stretch coming up against the Packers and Lions, you'd feel pretty good if you can get 1-1 out of that and get to 7-3 through really the hardest part of the schedule. That's a pretty good place to be.
Absolutely. So where do you want to start today? You want to start with the offense?
Yeah, let's do that.
It was very clear that the plan in this game was to establish the run. They went heavy personnel, and it looked like they were going to be able to do that. And then I think the Cam Jurgens injury really kind of took them out of it.
It seemed like that's exactly when, maybe a little before that, the first drive, Saquon was 5 for 25, looked pretty good. I think Tank Bigsby had an 11-yard run in there.
He did his first carry as an Eagle.
Yeah. So they were doing some good things in the ground game. Cam gets hurt. Was it late in the first or early in the second? I'm not sure exactly when he left the game, but the running game just didn't do anything after that. And I thought it was smart to adjust. And look, they had a plan, and the plan didn't work. So you go to plan B. Plan B was chucking it up and down the field, and um, it was fortuitous that it worked out that way because Jalen. I mean, Jalen made big play after big play. Devontae and AJ made big catch after big catch. I haven't checked the miscellaneous stats report on the back page of the game book. You guys can see that, but lists the biggest plays. Which way do you go? Biggest plays of the game. So Jalen had completions of obviously 79 yards, 45 yards, 37, 28, 26. So he had 5 completions of at least 26 yards and a 21-yarder, a 19-yarder, a 16-yarder. He averaged 20 yards per completion in the second half. He threw for 240 in the second half alone. So once they got the passing game going, and I think they had some look, everyone's talked about Isaiah Rodgers, and he had a really tough time. They really picked on him, and he wasn't up for it against his former teammates. So big stuff. I believe Devontae had the most yards by an Eagle since Jeremy Maclin in 2014 in Arizona. And then AJ was over 120. Only the third perfect passer rating ever by an Eagle quarterback. I'm sure you know the other two. I'm sure you looked it up. It was Donovan in 07 and Nick Foles in the Oakland game. in 2013, a 7 touchdown game. That's how good he was. Even with that last incompletion on the slant to AJ just before the big play that kind of iced it. So he was magnificent. He was so clutch, and they weren't easy throws. Like, I mean, he completed 82% of his passes was thrown like deep balls all the time. So that's a heck of a combination. Um, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. First quarterback in Eagles history with 80% completion, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 300 yards. Magnificent stuff from him. And Devontae never ceases to amaze me with his toughness and playmaking ability at that size. Good stuff.
Yeah, there was a lot there. So I want to go back to the
Hold
adjust the adjustments. I thought that was really important in this game because I think we've seen at times this year the Eagles offense, they get different things than they're expecting in a second half, and then they don't adjust and they're not able to
Yeah,
counteract it. So to see them be the aggressors and to kind of change what they're doing, I think that's really important for this offensive staff to be able to change on the fly like that. And they were able to do that in this game. You mentioned some of the numbers. I just want to run them down for people. Jalen Hurts, 19 for 23, so 82.6%, 326 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, that perfect passer rating, like you mentioned. And then Devontae Smith, 9 catches for 183 in the touchdown. A.J. Brown, 4 catches for 121 and 2 touchdowns. Both of those guys were just fantastic. And A.J., I mean, he had that touchdown early and then he got quiet for a while. And then late in the game when they needed it, he came through.
yeah, and it's kind of a reminder of just how good these two guys are. We really haven't seen it. AJ had one really big half, um, and then Devontae's been okay the last 2 weeks. He's made some big plays, but these guys are elite, and I give Jalen a lot of credit for keeping the whole thing together. And look, it wasn't guys were frustrated, guys were unhappy, and understandably, the offenses looked like a train wreck at times. And I think Jalen's
It looked like
his
a train
lead
wreck at times in this game.
they did those 3 drives after the touchdown in the first half, those next 3 drives were terrible. So you're right. I think his ability to keep it all together, with his leadership and his wisdom and his coolness and calmness, I think all that stuff is so huge. And I don't think you have a game like this, not just him, but the whole offense and the whole passing game without Jalen's ability to kind of hold things together, and I think that's one of the things that makes him special.
He was special today. You're right. The special is the right word, and just so in control of
Yeah,
everything. And it was tough to watch this game and not watch the quarterback on the other side. Carson made some big plays in this game, no doubt about it. But just like the panic in the pocket that 11 has, and then you watch how calm and collected Jalen was in this game, just making the right reads, uh, playing smart football. And you're right. I mean, downfield was unbelievable in this game. To complete 82% of your passes and to chuck it down the field like he did is pretty wild. I have the next gen stat here. He completed all 5 of his deep passes of 20 plus air yards for 215 yards and 3 touchdowns.
yeah, it's incredible, and if you just look at those numbers in the second half, I mean, I think he had 80 something yards in the first half. So, yeah, most of it was in the second half. I'm just looking for quarterbacks who've completed 80% of their passes and averaged 14 yards a completion, and I mean, that's or an attempt, I should say. I mean, it's a rare thing. Um, I see, Jared Goff did it, Brock Purdy did it once. I mean, you go down, Josh Allen did it once, Brady did it, once. I mean, it's a rarity to be that accurate while you're throwing deep. I mean, that just doesn't happen. So, um, it was a historic performance by Jalen, and, he I think the last 2 weeks, he hasn't been bad, but he hasn't been as good as they need him to be. This was yeah, and that's a pretty good front, and I thought they pass protected well. Um,
I thought they were very good in pass protection.
yeah, I mean, even when Toth came in, I thought he played better. Um, there were some plays where Jalen just had a lot of time to stand back there and make things happen.
It is kind of crazy. I thought Toth was much better in pass protection than in the run game, which is obviously the opposite of what he did in college 25 years ago at this point. Uh, but like I thought he actually held up way better in pass pro. I'll have to go back and watch it, but it felt like he was kind of getting blown up in the run game a little bit. There were like some of those negative. I think Saquon had that -6, and that was on a play where Toth just got blown off his spot. I thought he actually played a lot better in the pass game.
Yeah, I agree, and you alluded to, I mean, I think I looked it up once, he only pass blocked 19 times, or they only threw the ball 19 times at Army when he was in the game, so, that is a little surprising. It goes to show you that he's become a functional pass blocker, which I don't think anybody ever expected when he came out in, 1981, um, but yeah, I mean, a lot of those throws, a lot of those deep balls, I mean, all the deep balls in the second half were with Brett Toth at center.
Yeah, and there were even some plays where, the Eagles had to get to their second play, right? Like the scramble drill had to work. And I thought they even bought time for those plays. And I thought the Eagles in general with their scramble drill in this game, it was so good. We had a few to AJ that worked. The touchdown, the first touchdown was a scramble drill. And it was something that was just a miss with them the last few weeks. And it was something like it shouldn't be missing because these guys have played together too long to not be on the same page when it comes to those off schedule plays. So I asked Jalen Hurts about it, and he mentioned it was a point of emphasis for them during the week was making sure they're ready for those plays. And I thought it was a big difference in this game.
Yeah, the one, on the right sideline when he was kinda I don't I mean, I think it was a 3rd and 13, I
Yeah, that
believe.
was a huge play to AJ. The AJ toe tapped.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
that was a 3rd and 13. Um, and then the Eagles ended up getting that touchdown to AJ to cap that drive.
right, and I thought he was throwing it out of bounds. I thought because he was a lot of times when he just kinda sprints to the right, he gets out of the pocket so he can throw it away and it's not grounding, and then he fires it down the sideline, and what a throw, and I mean, he kinda jumped, it was like a jump throw across his body, falling away, and just smoked it in there, and AJ made a really nice play to catch it. That's one of my favorite plays this year. I mean, that was just talk about off schedule. I mean, I didn't know what the heck was going on. I thought he was throwing it away. Um, he had a few of those today. I think he used the word. I mean, he said he was totally in command or totally in control. That's kind of the vibe you got from him. Whatever came up, he had an answer for it.
Yeah, and talking to his teammates, they kind of felt that he just had something about him in this game. Like they called it like a look in his eyes. Devontae Smith mentioned that. Jordan Mailata mentioned that. Uh, it did remind me of the Super Bowl a little bit. And it was actually, Jordan Mailata was asked, "Have you seen Jalen play like this?" And he said, "Yeah, the Super Bowl," which is I think fair. Those are the best games of his career. Both of those Super Bowls, and I thought he played to that level today.
Yeah, I agree. Um, he's been throwing a lot of touchdown passes lately. He's got like something like 9 in his last 4 games, something like that. But um, I still think they can get the run game going when the O line is fully healthy and intact. Um, they're not going to get Mekhi Becton back. I get that, but I think even with Steen in there, once Landon's healthy, do we know the extent of Cam's injury? We have
Didn't see him after the game.
okay.
He never went inside. He ended up with a brace on the right knee. Uh, Kept his helmet, but like he was gingerly walking around. So even though they listed him as questionable, it was pretty obvious early on that he wasn't going
Yeah,
to come back in this game.
yeah, and he might need the bye week. And hopefully it's nothing longer than that. Um, the weird thing about Saquon, or I should say the running game, because I don't think it has anything to do with Saquon. I don't know where my stats are. He's averaging 5.1 yards this year in the first quarter. In the last 3 weeks, he's looked really good early. Like he had that 18-yard run and then the 13-yard run on the next play um, last week. His numbers early in the Denver game were really good. And each game they've either and like they didn't really get away from the run today. He had 18 carries, but it just dries up. And I don't think it's him because when there's a hole there, he looks like the Saquon of old. I mean, there was one play, I forget who the, holding was on. It was Steen, right? That wiped out like a 12, 13-yard run.
Hmm.
Or was it Tyler Steen?
Yeah, and
Um,
they did get behind the sticks a little bit again in this game.
yeah, they did. They did, and there were times where they couldn't run the ball, and they had to throw, and sometimes that's when you discover the passing game is still pretty good. Um, I mean, right now, they're just so much better. That's why I hated that 3rd and 5 call. Um,
Yeah, that if we're gonna be praising them, that 3rd and 5 stunk.
that was just ridiculous because you're not running you're averaging at that point, they're averaging 3 yards a carry and, like, 14.7 yards per pass. And 3rd and 5? I thought, yeah, but I don't wanna harp on that too much, but that was just the worst call.
Yeah, that was the first play of the 4th quarter,
Right, right. That was
and that
just
set up the
before
field goal
the
that
miss.
Jake Elliott missed, yeah.
Yeah, the 42-yard attempt that he missed. But anyway, look, when they're on the same page and the plays are getting called like they were today, and they're in a rhythm with the passing game, I mean, they can throw the ball as well as anybody. Maybe not the high volume, but as far as being efficient, yeah. And they didn't run many plays today. I mean, how many what did they finish with, like, 50 plays? Oh, they only ran 46 plays? I'm sorry, 49 plays, and the Vikings ran 67. So, none of those numbers were real high as far as rushing attempts or passing attempts. They just didn't have many plays. It was a weird game. This team never plays normal games.
That was a thing of beauty, Rube, and apparently Devontae Smith was really pushing for that play. He went in at halftime, and as Jalen said, he was chirping for that play. He even brought it up to Landon Dickerson, and then he and Landon like figured out which play it was because, as Jordan Mailata explained, like the receivers know their routes, but they have to match it with the protection up front. So then he got Landon Dickerson involved, and then the offensive line is backing the play. They bring it to Kevin Patullo, and he calls it in a crucial moment. That was the play of the game.
It was. That's a great story. I can't wait to read. I assume you're gonna write about it. That's really cool because we didn't know that, um, on post game. So, yeah, it was, and, man, Jalen was throwing the deep balls just beautifully today. I mean, it's been a problem. They've missed on some of those the last couple of weeks, the last few weeks, really. Um, that one was just spectacular. Longest, touchdown, I believe, by an Eagle since Deshaun had an 82-yarder Jalen's rookie year.
Mhm.
So it was the longest offensive play of Nick Sirianni's coaching career. Um, Saquon's had some long runs, but not that long. So, it's crazy to think back that Jalen played with Deshaun, isn't it? Is that funny?
Yeah, it feels like they were 2 different eras of Eagles
Yeah,
football.
yeah, but, it was it was one of Jalen's first career starts after he replaced Carson, which is so funny just how it all kind of goes together, but it was perfect, and I've been really tough on Kevin Patullo, but I thought he called some really aggressive plays and, a lot of kind of, high leverage plays that if they work, that's great. If odds are they're not going to, but Jalen and the receivers made them work.
Yeah, and, I tweeted out part of the story of Devontae pushing for that play, and some of the responses I've seen just, like, scrolling through or what does the coaching staff do then? Like, what are they doing? And look, like, you still deserve credit for following through. Like, Doug Peterson gets credit for calling the Philly special over there in that corner of the end zone,
Right.
right? He gets credit for that, even though we know Nick Foles brought it to him. There's something to be said about listening to your players if they think they have an advantage, and they did it in that moment. And in general, it was good to see play action back because yes, the run game isn't there, but teams are still defending against it because they know you have that type of potential. So to me, it was always kind of confounding that this team doesn't run more play action. In this game, they were like under center play action. It was a beautiful thing to watch.
I think we know why they're under center with Brett Toth in the game. We've seen his shotgun snaps.
Yeah, I don't know if I think they came in wanting to go under center in this one because they
I
came
don't
out in
know.
heavy personnel. They ran Fred Johnson out there as the extra offensive lineman. They came out in 12 personnel. I think they wanted to establish the run and use play action off it. But play action, it still works even if you're not running the ball effectively. That's kind of been like disproven over time. Like you just have to have the threat of the run. It doesn't mean you have to run effectively.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I thought the offense looked good. It looked a little more had a little more juice to it as far as the way plays were mixed in, and they were actually fun to watch on offense for the second half, at least.
Anything else on offense you want to mention? It was obviously mostly Devontae and AJ. Dallas Goddard had 3 for 18. The only other positive catch in this game was a 7 yarder from Will Shipley. What did you think of the end of first half sequence? Were you okay with them turtling, or did you want to see them be a little more aggressive?
I was okay with it in that situation,
Their offense
honestly.
had been pretty bad,
Yeah.
three straight 3-and-outs before then. I still didn't like it because they did get a first down. They had that the pass to Devontae Smith, like the right side of the field, and Will Shipley did a heck of a job picking up the blitz. He's that 2 minute back. He was good at that today. And then they took the one sack, and then they were like, let's give up. And I don't know. I with how far field goals are going through this year, I'd like to see them be a little more aggressive. They had the ball with a minute left.
Yeah, I get it. I just thought it seemed like a precarious time as bad as the offense had been on those last few drives, and let's just get in safely and try to regroup a little bit and get the offense going, and they did.
Yeah, look, and it did work. I think sometimes a bad drive like that can kind of carry over into the
Yeah.
next half, and it didn't in this case. We've seen that before, but that was the one qualm I had. I think with the coaching decisions in this game, I thought that maybe they could have been a little more aggressive in that situation.
Yeah, I can see that.
Anything else offensively you want to touch on?
No, I think we're good.
Real quick before we move on, though, I just want to ask you because you mentioned that like the run game didn't get going. Where is your level of concern with that? Because ultimately, like they do want to be a better running team. That was clearly their goal in this game, and we can talk about it more later in the week. But I just want to get your thoughts right after the game. Like, is this something you think we should be concerned about?
I would say concerned, but not alarmed. I still think I don't think it's Saquon. I think Saquon's the same guy physically as he was last year, because there's times where when he has some daylight, I mean, he looks like old time. And that one, it ended up getting called back, but I mean, he started galloping down the field like I thought, all right, this is going to be one of those 60s here, and then it got called back. But I just think I want to see what this O line, what this running game looks like with a full complement of healthy O linemen. And you're going to miss Becton because Tyler Steen's not the run blocker that Becton was. So that's a factor. But when you can have a healthy Landon, a healthy Cam, a healthy, uh, both healthy tackles, and I think Lane's pretty much 100% at this point. I want to see what it looks like then. I've seen enough good things in very small doses that I just think it's there. It's a matter of figuring it out, but I think it will be there.
All right, let's take a break. Then when we come back, we'll talk defense and special teams.
You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, we've got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself and shop your local Nissan store and nissanusa.com today.
We are back on the Eagle Eye podcast brought to you by Nissan. Reuben, Frank, and Dave Zangaro here. Eagles win 28-22. Rube, they also kept up with one of my favorite stats of the year. They have now been outgained in every single game again, 7 games in a row. They were outgained in this one, 387-361. But the story of the game defensively was how good they were in the red zone.
Yeah, yeah. Vikings had, what was it, trips to the 17, the 16, the 11, and the 10, and settled for field goals each time.
Yeah. They were
And
1 for 6 in the red zone.
I thought it was 1 for 5, but yeah, either way, the one is the pivotal thing. And yeah, they gave up a lot of yards. They gave up a lot of. They were not good on third down. Gave up some big plays, missed some tackles. And drive after drive, the Vikings would get down inside the 20, and just somebody would make a play. They just turned into a different defense in the red zone. It was really cool to see, and that was a difference in the game. I mean, this is a 6-point game, and I mean, obviously, the Eagles could have kicked a field goal at the end if they needed it, but I mean, the difference between 4 and 7 points is 3. You multiply
Pretty
that by
good. Yeah.
4 drives, and yeah, it's a different game. So, I thought they pressured really well at times. I like the way they played defense. Got 2 early interceptions on Carson, who thought it kinda regressed to 2020. I guess seeing Jalen kinda set him back a couple years, but
We got the full Carson Wentz experience in this game.
that's and I said that on pregame. It's like he's gonna throw for 250 to 275 yards, and he's gonna put the ball up for grabs a couple times, and it's gonna be up to the Eagles to make plays when they're there in their hands, and they did, and they haven't been. But this was vintage Carson Wentz. I mean, he probably threw for over 300 yards, right? Some big plays. He had some long runs.
Yeah,
Hurt the
he
Eagles.
completed 61.9% of his passes for 313 yards, 2 interceptions.
He was terrible. I mean, really, he threw a lot of balls. It's like, I don't know what he's thinking here. I don't know what he sees. And then he'll throw like a 28-yarder down the field to Addison. And it's like, who is that? It was typical Carson Wentz, just all over the place. I don't think he can win with a quarterback who's that it's kind of like poor man's Jameson. Jameis Winston. It's just all over the place. Um, did some good things, did some bad things. It was cool to see Jalen get the interception after dropping one last week. And then Makuba with his second this year, just kind of fair caught it. But it was good to see. And look, these are young guys. It's really cool to see the way some of these young guys on defense are contributing. I think he's the first rookie with 2 interceptions since Avonte Maddox in 2018. Oddly, I never would have guessed him. But I like the way the defense played. Jalen Carter made a difference. I think they were better against the run. Gave up some yards early in the third quarter to what's his name, Jordan. I'm sorry, I forgot his name, but
Jordan Addison.
Yeah, no, the running back. I'm sorry. Anyway, they gave him some rushing yards early in the second half, but for the most part, I thought Jalen Carter made a big difference. His pressure on the Jalen Hunt pick was tremendous. I mean, he pushed 64 out of the way like he was a high school place kicker or something. It's good to see him back. I think he's still got a ways to go to get back, but you see flashes of the player that he was last year.
Yeah. The cool thing about Jalen's play was that after he dropped the pick last week, the coaching staff put all the outside linebackers in the catch circuit on Friday. So typically, the linemen aren't involved in that, but they figured, all right, let's add the outside linebackers to this with how often we ask them to drop in the coverage. So they put him in the catch circuit, and then Jalen, that was a beautiful play. That sim pressure really worked. You're right. Jalen Carter had the pressure on that, but he just dropped in, and it was Carson Wentz looking for Justin Jefferson, which is it made me think about something Jason Avant brought up on pregame that when you have one receiver who you're throwing the ball that much to, it does make you a little predictable and susceptible to giving up plays, and I think that's kind of what we saw in that one.
Yeah, I think you're right. And it was a great point by Jason, who played wide receiver in the league for a long time. And I think we saw that. I think we saw signs of that today. Carson still plays like he believes he's physically the Carson Wentz of 2017. He's had so many injuries since then. He's also 33. He's just physically not the same guy. But I think he thinks he is and gets him into trouble. I mean, the Makuba interception is a great example of that.
What was he doing?
He was just being Carson.
It was second down.
I know it was.
He rolls right, throws across his body 40 yards downfield. That didn't have a prayer. Someone in the press box was like, it was like a punt. I was like, it was second down. He didn't have to punt there.
Yeah.
It was very strange.
Right. And then he made some big throws.
And some big scrambles. Got out of some danger. Was able to avoid that tackle from Jahad Campbell. Slipped free. Got a big scrambling first down. So he still made some plays, but just so up and down. And to me, that's what stood out was the stark contrast between the way Jalen Hurts played in this game and the way Carson Wentz played. Like one was in control and the other one was just like completely erratic.
That's it in a nutshell. I thought Jalen would never ever force a play like that, and Carson does it every week. Jalen is such a master at taking what's there, and that doesn't mean he's not aggressive. He is, but if it's not there, he's not making that throw. I mean, look, once in a while he will, once every 400 attempts or something. But I think the Eagles kept the right guy.
I think so. We talked about the two interceptions. They were big plays. I don't want to lose sight of the other big defensive play that it might get a little lost in the shuffle. Cooper Jean one-on-one in the end
Yes,
zone against Justin Jefferson knocks that ball down. That's a 4-point play.
it was. It was terrific defense. Um, yeah, I mean, and he was on him. Do you have any numbers on how much Jefferson lined up in the slot?
Uh, I
Go ahead.
don't. I have his numbers against Quinion Mitchell. Just one catch on 3 targets for 10 yards in 20 matchups against Quinion.
Yeah, wow. He had the 140-yard catch, but really didn't do a lot of damage other than that.
And that was the one where Makuba just had a terrible attempt at a tackle.
Yeah, it was a short pass. It was awful. And Makuba, I think both games he's had an interception. He's also had a really bad missed tackle.
He had a
So
couple of bad missed tackles today, but then he had that truck stick down by the goal line. I was like, where
yeah,
did that come from?
I know, I know. That was a huge play, as it turned out. But yeah, I thought they did a nice job. Dory Jackson left the game. Keeley came in and didn't kill him. Gave him a couple plays,
Mhm.
but there was
Yeah,
no
Addison
huge.
ended up with 9 for 128, Jefferson 5 for 79. Hawkinson didn't kill them, 6 for 43. Jalen Naylor had 2 for 37. Adam
Yeah,
Thielen didn't kill him either, 1 for 9, or sorry, 1 for 10. And I
it was
bring up
early.
Thielen because he kind of baptized Cooper DeJean last year a little bit. He routed them up in that one game.
Yeah, he did. He did. He's a year older, and Cooper's a year more experienced, and
Mhm.
saw the difference. Yeah, I thought, look, you don't want to give up 22 points, but I thought defensively it was a really impressive. They made the plays when they had to make them.
I'm trying to find that Thielen game. Yeah, last year, that Carolina game, he had 9 for 102, and a lot of it was against Cooper DeJean. So he didn't do that today, which is good.
Yeah, that is.
Well, in this game, they lost a couple of defensive players. Aziz Ojolari went out with I believe it was a hamstring, and then Adoree Jackson with the concussion. So they were already planning on playing Jihad Campbell on the line. I wonder if they ended up doing it even more after Ojolari got hurt, who, by the way, he went from healthy scratch to starting in this game within the span of a few weeks. Uh, I didn't notice a ton from Campbell. I really want to rewatch that and see how he played on the edge, but it allowed Nakobe Dean to play and play a lot. I have the snaps in front of me, at least the early snap counts. He played 31 of 69 snaps.
Yeah, he really showed up. He had a nice tackle for loss. They had some good coverages for a guy that hasn't played a single snap on defense since January. Um, I mean, I guess the only question for me was like the fitness level and just football shape because he didn't have a training camp, didn't have OTAs, um, and just started practicing a week ago. So it was good to see him back out there. It really was, and he was a difference maker. It's going to be interesting to see how it all kind of sorts out here.
Yeah, you have Nolan Smith eligible to return next week. And then we should bring up the talk of pregame. Multiple reports. John Clark confirmed that Brendan Graham is seriously considering a comeback. Could happen as early as this week. A bunch of his teammates in the locker room were like, really? They were pretty excited about that possibility. And it seems like it's probably going to happen. Do you think
You,
that's enough? Say they get Nolan Smith back, they bring Brandon Graham back from retirement. We've talked a lot about should they go out and trade for an edge rusher? Do they need to?
I still say yes, unless maybe they can lure Zadarius Smith out of retirement as well. Who knows? Maybe he really misses it.
They have to
Oh,
fight over that locker.
that's right. Um, what's BG 37 now?
Yeah.
Played really well last year. I just again, he's coming off 2 triceps injuries, didn't have a training camp. How long is it gonna take? How many snaps can he play? Um, I think they still need if Howie can work out a trade, I think he should still do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We should mention Josh Uche with that big defensive play, that sack late in the game. So give him credit for that one.
down in the red zone. I thought he was really good today. He had a couple, I think he had a tackle for loss, a couple QB hits.
Yeah,
Thought
Moro
his
Ojimo had a big sack in this game.
He's got
Yep.
3 now, doesn't he?
Yeah, he has three, which is a pretty good number. Those are only two sacks on Wentz, but they came in pretty big moments.
Yeah. Boy, I thought they were gonna get like 4 or 5 I really thought they were gonna, and they've struggled this year when they have quarterbacks cornered and kind of, in trouble. They haven't been able to finish those. I think they get a little undisciplined in their gaps. They all kinda start running right at the quarterback, so if he kind of makes an evasive move, there's nobody there, and he gets a lot of yards. I think it's one of the reasons we've seen QBs with some big runs, but, I think that'll come. Just gotta be a little more disciplined. But I would still add somebody, um, if, you get one of those. I think the Dolphins will be having a fire sale,
Yeah, you would think so. With the Cincinnati win on Thursday, Hendrickson's probably off the table.
probably for now. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, for November 4th, the deadline, so yeah.
But yeah, one of those Dolphins guys, whether it's Phillips or Bradley Chubb or even Matt Judon, like if you're piecing it together a little bit, maybe even that level player helps you. I do still agree with you. I think they can bolster it more. And the fact that we're talking about 37-year-old Brandon Graham, like he might save it all, like that kind of tells you where they are at that
Yeah.
position. But give a couple of those guys credit. They played well today.
Yeah. I also don't know. I mean, I'm concerned about Nolan Smith's health even when he comes back. Like, where's he gonna be? I just need to see him stay healthy. So that's a concern. So I think that plays into the equation as well.
I agree with you because it's the triceps again, and you don't
Yeah.
know if he's going to last the rest of the season or one more game
Yeah.
when he comes back. And that's a scary place to be because, like, right now, you can bank on the hope of him coming back and being that same player. But if he's not, then you're in a world of trouble. And you don't really have time to figure that out when he's healthy because we don't think he's going to play. He's eligible for this week against the Giants. I kind of get the sense that they were thinking after the bye for him. So you're not going to get a chance to really do that math before the trade deadline.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of think Howie's going to make a move there.
I do too. I think that's the one spot that makes the most sense. Could they go after a corner? Maybe. I would like to see Jacorian Bennett next week, and I think there's a chance that happens. Adoree Jackson left this game with a concussion, which Adoree's played better than Keeley, so that is a loss. Uh, and before Jacorian Bennett went down, he was ahead of Keely Ringo. So I would think that he comes back, he's going to have a chance to start this week if that
I would think
happens.
so. And if you missed our pod on Thursday, I spoke to Jacorian for a little bit in the locker room um, during the week, and he says he's fine. He says he's ready to go. The Eagles don't always agree with players on those things, but there's such a level of desperation, I think, at that position. He might be an exception who doesn't have to be, have his window opened and then practice for a week and then be inactive and then practice another week and then play. I would just put him out there.
I would too, because you also want to see if he's the answer. Because if not, then you have another week to make a trade
Right.
if he's not the guy.
And also, it's a small sample size, though, too. You're
True.
making that decision based on one game when
But
he
that's
hasn't
what you
played in a
got.
month, but that's all you have to go on.
Yeah. Someone last week was talking about Jacorian Bennett to us, and they said JB. And you and I both had flashbacks like James Bradbury. Oh, no, Jacorian Bennett. Okay.
Oh, it was Vic, wasn't it?
It was not Vic, but yeah, don't worry about it. It was someone said JB,
Okay.
and yeah.
All
Anything
right.
else on defense you want to hit?
Nope.
Okay, special teams. Uh, I saw enough from Xavier Gibson to think he should be returning kicks from now on.
Probably a week too late. Probably should have happened last week, but yeah,
Yeah,
he's got a little juice to him.
he does. He looked good. I thought Will Shipley looked good back there too. They actually got some positive field position. They did have some penalties on special teams. That wasn't great. They did have a missed field goal. That wasn't great. But I saw some good signs on the kick return unit after it was a disaster in New York.
Well, it starts with the fact that they fielded them. I mean, that's like a starting point, and then they got, you get 30 yards. Yeah, you're thrilled.
Jake Elliott had one that didn't reach the landing zone today. He also had
Yeah.
another one that was the good touchback. It went through the end zone after hitting in the landing zone, so that's the touchback of the 20. So kind of a mixed bag from special teams in this one.
Yeah, not great. Not a great day.
Coaching, anything stand out decision wise? I said I didn't really like them turtling at the end of the first half, but I also understand it given the circumstances of where they were offensively at that time.
My only thing with coaching is just that I think this is where Nick is at his best. I mean, they were in bad, those are 2 really bad losses. A loss puts him at 4-3, and, you know, uh, things might start snowballing. I thought I just think he's good at getting his team ready to play when things aren't going well, and whether it was when they were 2-5 in 21, after the collapse in 23, coming back the next year, and then 2-2 start, and then building from there. So he's got a real knack for helping kind of guide the team through. I hate the word adversity, but that's what it is, through negative times. And I thought this was, I think we talked about this. What did I say?
I just like that you didn't want to say adversity, so you said negative times.
Yeah, I know that was lame, but yes, in all seriousness, I think it's his best quality. I think it's his best trait. He really gets what the players need to hear, and he gets how to get through to them and how to keep them locked in, keep them confident, and um, put the negatives behind him.
Yeah, I agree. He's always been good in those situations, and Jalen has too. I mean,
Yeah,
they're kind of a package deal in that respect. And yeah, when they haven't faced a ton of adversity the last couple years, like real adversity.
right.
But yeah, this is one of those moments, and they perform well in the face of it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Any other odds and ends?
Odds and ends.
Yeah.
Um,
Anything else on your mind from this game?
I think it's gonna be fun doing stats tomorrow.
Like you're not already doing them.
I haven't really had a chance.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's gonna be a lot of fun stats from this one. I think the headline for me is just the quarterback played at such an elite level in this game.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
people always kind of wonder and talk about Jalen like he's not a good quarterback, like he can't air out the football. And then you see a game like this, and it's like he's done this before. I know it's not always consistent, but like he's shown up like this on
Yeah.
the biggest stages. And yeah, I think it'll quiet people down for another week, and then he'll have a bad game, and then people will be he stinks, he's not elite. And then he'll
I
do it
I
again.
I feel like people in Philly I hope people in Philly have finally. I mean, there's so many Jalen haters early on,
Oh
and
no,
I'm
I don't
not a.
think it's in Philly anymore. I think it's national people who read a stat line and go,
Well,
threw
no,
for
that's
150?
what I'm saying. Yeah,
Mm.
because I think there were a lot of people that did not like Jalen and the way he played early in his career here, and I hope they're all buying in. I have a great Carson stat. Carson Wentz has thrown 42. He threw 42 passes today. It's the 28th time in his career he's thrown 42 passes, 28 times. In those games, his teams are 4-23-1.
Wow.
I think that, and that's why I think, they did a better job against the run, and I think that kind of forced the Vikings to throw more than they wanted to, and I think if you make Carson throw 40 passes, he's gonna make some mistakes. If and and he did, and he always has. He's thrown at least one interception in 22 of those 28 games. So,
Yeah, checks out.
yeah,
It was good to see him though. I like Carson.
I do too. Was there any interactions pre or post, with him and Jalen?
Not that I saw, but I don't get to watch the end of the game from my seat
Yeah,
because I got to hustle down to the field. So I don't know actually.
okay.
I'm sure people who are watching the broadcast know better than us, honestly.
Now they went off, or at least we turned it off in the studio,
Oh,
but yeah,
really?
maybe. I hope so, and Jalen said nice things about Carson on, Wednesday, so that
Wednesday.
was good to hear.
Mhm. Uh, Saw Jordan Hicks here today. He was like I don't know. They put him on the jumbotron with his kids, and they did the thing where they clap here.
Okay.
The skull. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was good to see him just retired after a nice long career.
Yeah, good guy.
Mhm. That's all I've got.
Okay.
Should we wrap this up?
Yeah.
All right. Eagles are 5-2. They beat the Minnesota Vikings. If you have a question for us, I'm sure the inbox is already flooded, but eagle-eye at nbcuni.com. That QR code is on the screen. So if you're watching on YouTube, hit that pause button, scan that code, and send us a question. If you enjoy the Eagle Eye podcast, you know what to do. Rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, click the like button, subscribe there as well. Any final words?
No, safe travels back, and see you back home.
Sounds good. For Reuben Frank, I'm Dave Zangaro. This has been Eagle Eye, presented by Nissan. The Eagles get a win. We'll talk to you soon.